What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Get a Grip Sports Football. Today, we're going to be doing my final mock draft with trades this time. Just a couple hours away from draft night. Of course, we have all the drama surrounding Aaron Rodgers and the Teddy Bridgewater trade to Denver, so it'll be interesting to see how it will impact my picks compared to last week's picks. So let's get it started. We're going to be drafting for all teams here. Draft speed fast. Start the draft. Of course, Jacksonville is going to take Trevor Lawrence, one of the best quarterback prospects I've ever seen. And I mean, he's big, he's very good in the pocket, but he has that subtle mobility. He can run the ball if it's needed. He's going to be a great player, and I think he will be able to lead Jacksonville to maybe an AFC South title, if not possibly a wild card. Next up, we have the New York Jets, who traded away Sam Darnold, meaning that they're going to take a quarterback. I definitely see Zach Wilson going here. He's the third best quarterback in the draft. Through my eyes, I like Justin Fields more than him, just because of the size and the speed difference. Although I think Zach Wilson is the perfect quarterback for the Jets system. Of course, that system may be changing because of the new head coach in Robert Saleh, but Zach Wilson he's a very mobile quarterback, and he can fit however the Jets want to use him. Third overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I could see something crazy happening with the Niners trading for Aaron Rodgers here, and the Packers move up here and possibly draft a quarterback, if not offensive tackle like Penny Sewell or Jamar Chase. But we're just going to stick with the Niners pick here. Now, they said they don't know what they know what they're doing, but we don't know what they're doing. My guess is they're going to take either Trey Lance or Mac Jones. I heard that they aren't really high on Justin Fields. I think their pick here is going to be Trey Lance. They'll have him sit a year or two behind Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think Trey Lance is not going to be as big as some people are hyping him up to be. He hasn't played against any real big-time opponents, unlike Mac Jones, unlike Justin Fields. But I've heard that the Niners really like him, and I think that's where he gets picked. With the fourth pick, this is where our first trade is going to come into play. Of course, I'm going to be doing this so that no matter what they accept. So we'll give the Falcons the 15th pick. And of course, it's going to be accepted because the Patriots obviously wouldn't turn down a 15 for 4 switch. So I imagine the Patriots could give up Stephon Gilmore here. They're definitely giving up their first 15th overall pick. I could also see them giving away their next year first round pick. So that's definitely a possibility. But they would like to trade up here so they can pick their quarterback that they want instead of a team like the Panthers or the Broncos taking another quarterback. And I think the quarterback that they're going to take here is not going to be Mac Jones because of his horrible pro day. They're going to take Justin Fields here. Their entirely new system, thanks to Cam Newton being there instead of Tom Brady. Justin Fields, very mobile like Cam Newton. He'll fit in perfectly with Bill Belichick. For the 5th overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, they've had controversy over, is it going to be Penny Sewell? Is it going to be Jamar Chase and pair Joe Burrow with his old wide receiver? I really hope that they don't waste this draft pick on Jamar Chase. They need anything on the offensive line, and Penny Sewell is one of the best offensive tackle prospects I've seen in my entire life. I think the Bengals are going to take him and protect Joe Burrow so he doesn't get another career-changing, altering injury. And with the 6th pick, the Miami Dolphins. Now, after that Teddy Bridgewater trade, the Panthers are definitely looking for a quarterback. But the Broncos could also be looking for another quarterback. Drew Lock is not a good quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater, yes, he's going to be that veteran that's probably going to be starting this year, but they could also be looking at Mac Jones for that potential. I do think that the Broncos will try to get a deal done here, or the Saints possibly, and try to get their man in Mac Jones. But I think the Dolphins decide not to give up Jamar Chase, and that is who they select. The Detroit Lions, they need a playmaker. They really need a wide receiver. That's where I could see Kyle Pitts or Devonta Smith going. I do think that they will take Devontae Smith for that deep field threat. Kyle Pitts, they already have TJ Hawkinson. I could see Kyle Pitts moving to wide receiver, possibly, but tight end is his main position. This is where things get interesting as the Carolina Panthers, although they already have Sam Darnold on their roster, they decide to take Mac Jones because Sam Darnold hasn't shown that he's capable of being a really, really good starting quarterback. So Mac Jones will come in. We could see him be in a Tua Tagovailoa situation where they have Sam Darnold start at the beginning of the season and then bring Mac Jones in and alter the two back and forth. And if they like what they see in Mac Jones and Sam Darnold continues to play horribly, they don't pick up his final option and it's going to be Mac Jones all the way. Denver Broncos, after missing out on a quarterback, which probably wouldn't have started this year, but the quarterback is always useful, would have put them in a great situation where they could decline Drew Lock's final option. Teddy Bridgewater's on his final year of his contract, and they could be stuck with possibly Mac Jones or Justin Fields if they decided to trade up. But instead, they'll be looking on the defensive side of the ball, or they could take Kyle Pitts here. I think that the most important thing will be linebacker, and that's the thing they'll be looking at. And Micah Parsons will be Von Miller's replacement when Von Miller finally does either leave the team or retire. Dallas Cowboys now also looking at that defensive side of the ball. They're going to be looking at one of the best defensive prospects in the draft, and that is going to be Patrick Surtain out of Alabama. Fantastic cornerback. He can play safety if they need him to. All around, one of the best players I've seen in the draft this year. Next up, we have the New York Giants with the 11th pick in the draft. Now, this is a pick where I could see getting traded. Of course, the Giants need Jalen Waddle or Kyle Pitts, but Jalen Waddle will ultimately be the choice, and that's the player they will end up taking. Philadelphia Eagles here, of course, they already have Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, but Kyle Pitts falling to 12th. If that happens, the Eagles will have no choice but to take him. He's one of the best tight end prospects I've seen in a very long time. I rank him higher than Rob Gronkowski out of college, more than George Kittle. Of course, everybody was sleeping on George Kittle out of the draft, but I can see Kyle Pitts turning into a Darren Waller type of player. He could play wide receiver if he needed to, but tight end is his main and best position. The Los Angeles Chargers, they need somebody on the offensive line. The best offensive line prospects besides Penei Sewell are still on the board. So I'm just going to go straight over to offensive tackle. Rashawn Slater and Christian Darrisaw, really good offensive linemen. I think Rashawn Slater will be the pick here. The only position the Chargers really need is offensive tackle, and they take care of that with Rashawn Slater. The Minnesota Vikings, they're in a position where they will probably just take the best player available in the draft, and that's going to be J.C. Horn. Of course, Xavier Rhodes is still on the team, but he's fallen off a bit. He's like Kyle Fuller, he's one of the best in 2019. 2020 was a bit of an off year, so I believe they'll take J.C. Horn. But I could also see them taking Kwity Paye here with the 14th overall pick. I'm going to stick with J.C. Horn, wonderful cornerback prospect, and a great pickup and addition for the Atlanta Falcons. Or not, Minnesota drafted him. Atlanta is up next. Offensive line is, Alex Mack did retire. They could be looking at Elijah Vera Tucker to fill that hole and possibly move him to center. They will also be looking at Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame, the linebacker. They're also in a similar position as the Vikings where they want the best player available. Tackle, they are pretty strong, so I think that defensively they're going to be looking at that side of the ball, and that's where Kwity Paye finally gets chosen out of Michigan. And now the Arizona Cardinals are up. They need a cornerback or a linebacker. Greg Newsome is still available here, but I'm going to go with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He's very underrated. He's recently jumped up in a lot of draft boards, and he's definitely not as good as the Broncos selection, Micah Parsons, but he's definitely going to be able to fill a hole and play with Chandler Jones. The Las Vegas Raiders, they're good on playmakers with Josh Jacob and Darren Waller. They, however, do need somebody on the defensive tackle or offensive tackle position. Could see them using their pick on Greg Newsome here, Christian Darrisaw, or Azeez Ojulari. Christian Darrisaw is just too valuable to pass up here. Another great offensive lineman. Offensive linemen run deep into this draft, and Christian Darrisaw is a great pickup with the 17th overall pick. The Miami Dolphins, having already picked Jamar Chase, are still looking for a couple more playmakers. Could see Najee Harris going here. I could see Rashad Bateman going here. Could see Travis Etienne going here. Now, although the best playmakers are already taken, I'm looking at the defensive line position. Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia, I'm going to guess, is the selection here. Great pickup for the Dolphins. Their defensive line is a little below average, so this will be a very important pickup for the Dolphins. The Washington football team, they're going to be looking on the defensive side of the ball as well. Christian Barmore, defensive tackle is not a position that they definitely need. Cornerback, they're a little lackluster there. Offensive guard is also a position that they'll be looking at. But I think the pick here is going to be Greg Newsome out of Northwestern. Chicago Bears, quarterback, of course they need a quarterback. Mitch Trubisky's gone, but he was never a good quarterback in the first place. They will also be looking at Rashad Bateman very, very closely. Running back, they're pretty set on. Defensive tackle is a position where I could see them taking on, but ultimately they decided to go with the guard position, Elijah Vera Tucker. The Indianapolis Colts, they have Carson Wentz as our starting quarterback. He's a little injury prone. Wide receiver is looking a little lackluster there too. Defensive tackle is looking pretty good. The linebacker position is the best. So they will end up protecting Carson Wentz and taking Samuel Cosmi out of Texas. The Tennessee Titans are up. They're definitely not taking a running back. Wide receiver, we could see them picking up Rashad Bateman, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Of course, they lost Corey Davis. A.J. Brown is still their number one receiver, but Rashad Bateman gives them some size to work with. The New York Jets are up, having already taken their man in Zach Wilson. They're going to be looking at either protecting him or giving him options to throw to, or protecting him. And if none of those are available, they'll be looking on the defensive side of the ball. Linebacker is one of their positions that they need, but they will pass on that and go with the cornerback Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. That's a great pickup for the Jets. He could turn into the next Jamal Adams. Pittsburgh Steelers, my favorite team, are up now. We need a running back after James Conner left. We honestly could use any position on the defensive side. We don't, but Dupree left, so we could be looking at a linebacker. That's where Zaven Collins comes in. Edge is a little lackluster. We lost Tyson Alualu, so I think we're going to be looking at defensive tackle. And Christian Barmore is still available. I think we go with him. Jacksonville Jaguars are up, already getting their main man, Trevor Lawrence, with the first overall pick. They will be looking for a playmaker, offensive lineman, or anybody on the defense. Running back James Robinson really exploded last year, and the linebacker position is looking pretty good with Zaven Collins available. They could take Joseph Asai here or Gregory Rousseau, but my guess is they're going to take Zaven Collins here. The Cleveland Browns are up now. I'm honestly thinking that they're going to trade this pick to the Packers. The Packers are going to trade up a couple spots. So the Packers will propose the trade with the Browns. It won't be that much. Just a couple picks for the Green Bay Packers, but they want to pick up their wide receiver prospect that they're liking a lot, and that is Kadarius Toney out of Florida, wide receiver. The Baltimore Ravens with the 27th overall pick. I know they're looking at Creed Humphrey after that departure of Orlando Brown, They're also looking at Taven Jenkins, and I think that's the player that they're going to go with. They could take a center here and create Humphrey, but tackle is their main need. The New Orleans Saints also need a playmaker. You see Terrace Marshall here. However, they're going to be looking for a different wide receiver, and that's going to be Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. The Cleveland Browns, they need a linebacker. Jamin Davis is available, but he is not the best linebacker available in my eyes. I think that's going to be Baron Browning, and I think that's who they're going to take. The Buffalo Bills are up. They have Stephon Diggs, and that's mainly their entire offense. I'm going to guess that they're going to go running back here. Devin Singletary took a step back, and they have Devin Singletary, who's like a glorified Travis Etienne. So I think they're going to go with a powerful running back in Najee Harris. The Baltimore Ravens are up again. They already took care of the tackle situation. They always need wide receivers, and Terrace Marshall Jr. is available, and I think that's who they're going to take. Final pick of this NFL mock draft is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones are their running backs. They could not really use linebacker in Jamin Davis. Edge position is looking a little sketchy. Their safety position is a little wide open with Antoine Winfield Jr. being their only safety. And I think that's where Trevon Murray comes in, and that's who they select. So don't forget to tell me what you guys think of my mock draft in the comments. Don't forget to tune into the draft tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.